series and the last part of the live series called Let's Talk Mental Health with me, Suman Agarwal. I am the co-founder and director of Image Consulting Business Institute, and we are talking about a very, very important topic and with a very, very important guest for today. And my guest is Dr. Aman Bhonsle, and he's an esteemed consulting psychotherapist and relationship counselor based in Mumbai. He is frequently quoted in respected publications like NDTV, CNBC, Mumbai Mirror, Hindustan Times, Men's Health, and more. From being a Bollywood buff to an enthusiastic food lover, Dr. Aman is a published author, having written two best selling textbooks on REBT and TA, as well as two Q&A digests on relationship and sexuality, available on Amazon.com. So let's meet Dr. Aman Bhonsle today on our live session. So let's see if Dr. Aman Bhonsle is here, and if he's here, I would like to invite him for a live conversation. And before that, I would like to welcome everybody. So good evening all. And like I said, that this is the last session on mental health. Of course, I'm going to talk about the different things that we keep having, different discussions that we keep doing on mental health on my profile. That will of course continue, but the live series on mental health for this month, May, when we were discussing, and this was a mental health month, this is the last part about Let's Talk Mental Health. So I can see Dr. Aman Bhonsle is already here, and I would like to invite him. Oopsie, hello, how are you doing?
Hello. How's it going? How's the evening
Fantastic.
proceeding for you?
I'm hearing your voice after ages.
Very long it's been, hasn't it?
I know, I
How's
know. How's life?
I'm okay, man. Apart from watching you save birds on, Insta stories. I mean, you saved a couple of birds recently. Do we have a
Yeah.
day dedicated to the mental health of birds? Because then you'd be the ambassador for that.
I have two baby crows in the house now. I've just saved them.
Oh man, that is wonderful. I think that's so nice of you. That, mental health going beyond just the human species,
That's
right?
always been the case. So I have dogs, I have cats. I've got one cat. Just see here. Just look
Look
at
at
this one. See
Oh,
this one.
look at that. He's having an existential crisis now. Probably not. He's okay.
So all this continues, and this is life. This is life for me. Have I lost you, Aman? Can you hear me, guys? Aman, your
Man.
network is scary, man.
There are more things scarier than the network. People put carrots in rice and call it biryani. That to me is the scariest thing I've ever heard. But yeah,
Now,
otherwise we're okay.
don't talk about chicken and mutton over here because
You're
I
wearing
don't even
green,
eat
I'm wearing red.
vegetables.
We look like a traffic signal, no? Now that you think about it. Huh? Look at that. Primary colors at their best.
Seriously. Acha, tell me now, jokes apart, because people are here to listen to your serious stuff.
Yeah,
So,
let's be
tell me
serious.
what
Come on now.
inspired you to specialize in psychotherapy, first of all.
Oh, the quality of help available in this field is questionable at best. So, I mean, for me, there's always been great value in taking difficult things and making it simple for people to understand. So my own curiosity of mental towards mental health began probably because I was around my mother a lot, and my mother is Dr. Meenu Bhosle. She's a psychotherapist, and when you kind of when you grow up around something, you very naturally develop a very healthy curiosity about it, because of your prolonged exposure to the terms, the people, the subject, the ecosystem that is born from any discipline. You're around it when you have parents who are practitioners of a certain subject. So for me, it was a very natural sort of curiosity that entered my life. I went through my own, period of being depressed. I had a very nasty breakup. And then I found the literature around the subject of recovering and healing your broken heart a little too much on the spiritual side of things and a lot about God and the universe. And for me, that made no sense.
Mhm.
So, when I discovered transactional analysis and CBT, I kind of found a lot of solace and a lot of control in the idea that it's my beliefs that sort of help me either live a decent life or dubious one at best. So then I thought, let me contribute to the ecosystem that is born from this, academic discipline that we know as psychology. Because I think the best way to change something is to first study it yourself and then become a contributor towards it. So that's where I kind of found myself venturing into the world of psychology, just out of curiosity and interest and deep passion for simplifying things.
And guys, let me tell you that Aman has also been my teacher, and his mom has been my teacher. So I have great respect for both of them, irrespective of his humor, his fun, and all the stuff that he talks about. He's a great guy. He's a great teacher. So this is something which is really, really fantastic about him. So, Aman, you deal a lot with the youth.
Yeah.
You work a lot with the youth of today. So, can you explain the role of family involvement in youth therapy?
So I think the family is the first default circle of friends that a child has, isn't it? I mean, before you kind of figure out your personality, before you kind of understand where your tastes lie, before you have a career, before you pay your taxes or vote for your government, your family is kind of the first social group you hang out with, right? I mean, everyone from my generation, yours as well, will have some story involving their cousins and what happened during maybe Diwali, Eid, Christmas, or Easter. So, since you're around them so much, and because their decisions and their, choices sort of rub off on you, they're also the first place you turn to when you are, in deep shit. They're also the first place you turn to when you're lonely or when you're unwell or when you need immediate assistance. That is why, because they're like your first social first aid, right? That is why it is important for them to also, at some point, be involved in this process of sort of bringing you back online if you do find yourself distressed or depressed or anxious, and it's affecting your mental health. And let's assume you've already gone to a counselor, you've already had a few sessions. We do believe that at least one family member, the one most closely connected to the patient or client, should at some point be involved in that sort of restorative process, whereby you sort of just support the growth and learning journey of a person who is, you know, in trouble.
Mm.
And also the family members' behavior and the way they choose and communicate is likely to have an effect on the person on an ongoing basis. So sometimes the problem isn't with the person, but it's with the environment in which the person finds himself. So if we can positively influence that environment and make some very small changes in how people talk to each other, or how they communicate their expectations or their attitudes towards each other, or the way in which they, register their discontent with each other. The small changes over time can create a more, pleasant atmosphere rather than a hostile one. So that's where the family's role is in, I remember people say, "Oh, let's change society." I say, "Yeah, you can't even change your socks without your mother having a comment about it, or you can't even change a shirt without somebody telling you, oh, you're looking thin or you're looking fat." So many even small changes are not possible for you when you want to change 1.8 billion people. So change begins locally, change begins domestically, and that's why the family is at the front and center of any change that you want to make in a country or in a community, etc. That's what I feel.
But don't you think that when it comes to youth, it's important for people to also become more aware of how you should communicate and the art of communication, because that also impacts the state of mind of today's people?
So so yes, I do feel anyone who communicates with another human and with another human being could be communicating with plants or trees also. Whatever
Yeah.
communication requires a certain degree of training, right? Any discipline, whether you learn to cook or skate or swim, or cycle. It's a discipline that requires training. Unfortunately, the way we learn to communicate is we become cheap knockoffs of the people we are surrounded by. So what happens is when a parent is very rude to a teenager, let's talk about teenagers for a second, and says, "Oh, you look like a jungly," or your girl is dressing in a very risque way. "Oh, you're dressing like a prostitute," if a
Or
father
even
tells his daughter.
body shaming for that matter.
Body
Just
shaming,
just
body
just
shaming
talk
as
about
well.
body shaming. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good point. So, I mean, these are things that have probably been done with them, and now they're just sort of reappropriating that kind of vocabulary and language and that kind of sort of those cultural norms of what is good and bad. You're just reappropriating it. As we used to say in school, "Chipka rahe ho aap, bas wohi cheese." There's nothing new or innovative or insightful about the way in which you have communicated. You're basically just a cheaper version of someone who existed with one generation before you. So you're essentially, there's nothing original about you. You're like assembled like a piece of Lego, you know. So then that's the tragedy of it. That people become reappropriations. There's nothing original about them. When people say it's my personality to be angry, no, it isn't. You were raised by angry people, and anger is a choice.
Absolutely.
Being judgmental is a choice. Body
True.
shaming someone is a choice. The fact
Mhm.
that you have made that choice means that you have learned from someone who also made that choice. So you have become the monster you hunted once upon a time. When you say I had a very judgmental father and now you're saying judgmental things, well, guess what? You're nothing but a cheap copy of that individual. Think about that for
Absolutely.
a second, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I very clearly remember because my son, when he sits on the dining table, once in a very probably in a very harmless manner, I said that you want more because you've taken one helping. So he became very conscious about the fact that I noticed how much helping he took.
That's right.
So the next time he was looking at my face when he was taking the third helping, and I consciously ignored it so that he doesn't become very careful about the fact that somebody's noticing what he's eating or how much he's eating.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
children become very very conscious about the fact that somebody's noticing them and somebody's looking at them and somebody's going to lecture them about how much they're eating.
very true,
So it's a very
very true.
sensitive issue, but people do notice. Children do notice, and children want people not to pay attention to all these things. So it's a small thing, but small things do make a big difference.
That's right. That's right. No, absolutely. See,
And
we're up for,
एक लाइन तो बोल दो कि बेटा ज्यादा हो गया. you
Anji.
know and दिल पे लग जाता है. It's like you've done the job, you've done it, you've just hit the right thing at the right time and at the right place.
See, what happens, Suman, is ever since we're born, we're up for scrutiny. Everyone's going to have an opinion. When you're a baby and you're sort of literally just delivered into your mother's arms, there are already
And by the way,
people
my son
there to
is
see you.
just 10 years old.
Ach-
Huh? He's just
Acha,
10.
still quite young. I was 10 years old when I went to boarding school. So I've been living away from my family since I was 10. So that's a very important age as well. You kind of,
Correct.
by the age of 10, you're kind of figuring out who you are and what you want from life. So the point I was making is, throughout our lives, it's like an exhibition and you are the painting. People are looking to, and everyone will see something different in the painting, right? Someone will want to buy the painting. Someone will say, "Hey, kitna stupid painting hai. I can't believe such a big exhibition was kept for something so ordinary looking." Someone will want to destroy the painting, saying that this painting is threatening to me. Somebody will say that I don't like the colors used in this painting. Somebody will say, I have a better painting at home, but you don't see me having an exhibition to show you guys how lovely it is. So we are like paintings. Everyone wants to just have some kind of get a piece of us in some way or the other. And that's where it's, frustrating for a teenager. He's eating food. You ask him, hey, do you want more? And he's like, hey, why are you looking at my plate? You
Hmm.
know, yeah. It happens to me. I have this aunt of mine, right, who shall not be named. Every time I meet her, she'll give me some fitness advice. Oh, yeah, yeah, your stomach is showing. You've gained some weight, it seems. Now you should be careful. And I'm like, I didn't know you were a registered nutritionist or some kind of fitness coach.
And my dad used to do that when I would sit on the dining table. Thoda wazan kam kar lo. And as soon as
अरे
I'll
बाप
take the
रे.
first chapati in my plate, thoda wazan kam kar lo. I was like, why at this time? Why at this time when I've just started eating? So it
Gluten free हो गया ये
happens.
gluten free.
I know, seriously. I mean, it's so bugging, and I used to get so furious.
The
Seriously.
same aunt of mine was like once would I walked in कौन सा आटा यूज करता है. I'm like यार आटे का पता नहीं, but I was hoping to have a nice evening. यहाँ आटे का आटा चाटा मतलब जो डिस्कस करना है, what, and then the moment you have a counter perspective, there's this thing in India which I don't understand is, oh, we're very old, हम old है now, we can't change. Oh, we're very old, we're like this only. Oh, you're not fossilized, for the love of Christ. I mean, people should be open to growth and change at any point in their life. And I think that is one of the founding principles of mental health, that change is possible, very, very possible, and very simple. Simply, if you don't have this arrogance about having achieved everything or having seen the world or having done enough in your life, you know.
True. Very
We
true.
spend so much
Absolutely.
time focusing on who's the smartest person. Very rarely do I have people, asking me who's the kindest person, who's the most enjoyable to be with.
Very true.
इसके साथ सही लगता है यार. इसके साथ एक, 10-15 मिनट भी बैठते हैं तो, it's like you feel rejuvenated. So, I mean, as you know, the role of family is important. Like I have this one judgy aunt who'll keep telling me about, oh, you've gained weight, oh, you've lost weight, oh, you have this, if that. I showed up for a cup of tea, not to get my physical done. If I want to go to a
Absolutely.
professional, I'll go
Talking
to a
diagnosis
professional.
of your physical, body shape and stuff like that. It's like ridiculous.
हम सब विन डीजल और ऋतिक रोशन की तरह तो नहीं दिख सकते. I mean, ultimately, we're all, genetics है, lifestyle है, उम्र है. So these are important things as well. I mean, for children to sort of understand that they will be constantly visited upon by these, what I call, their tourists in your life. As I said, they treat you like a painting, and everyone has an opinion on the painting. Someone may want to come and change that painting. No, no, no. Let me add a photo of my mother in this painting. It's just looking like a boat on the ocean. So everyone wants to modify something that they see. It's a very human thing to want to leave your imprint on something
Very
that you have discovered. It's a very human thing. Animals don't care about things like legacy, uh, things like reputation. Animals don't care about branding. This is a very human thing, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is why, see, that is why I love animals. That is why I'm
Absolutely.
always surrounded with animals.
Shave a couple of alligators and that would be fun now, right? I always loved
True.
alligators. No one messes with them. Leave them alone.
So tell me, what strategies do you use to help the youth open up about their feelings and about their experiences in front of you?
So I believe like people talk about the word depression a lot, anxiety, stress. So I ask people, what is the opposite of being sad? They say being happy. So at least when you're around me, at least for a small part of our session, we'll try to ensure that you're happy.
I'm
We'll
sure
try to
in
ensure that
front
you're,
of you, people open up and people are happy.
yeah, I mean
You
that's the
make sure
that,
that people are happy.
that's the point, right? I mean, why go to a psychotherapist if he's going to scare you even more, right? I mean, so
Mm.
don't talk to a person like they're a patient or a client or just another case number or just a way to make money or, go through the day. Talk to a human being exactly as you would talk to your best friend. कि क्या हाल चाल है यार? क्या हो रहा है? Where do we find ourselves today? And I find that to be the most refreshing and clean approach is be honest and be empathetic and just treat them like you would treat your closest friend. Ask them about how they're feeling, how they travel to meet you, and of course, as we are taught, right, keep the judgment not to the minimum, keep it non-existent. Just don't judge a person based on their appearance. And I think that's usually the safest way to make a person open up to you. Be kind to them, don't judge them, treat them like your friend, and listen deeply to not just what they're saying, but also what they are not saying through their body language. Listen to their pauses, listen to their in breaths and out breaths, listen
Yeah.
to every time their pupil dashes from left to right. That's the difference between a mediocre psychotherapist and a good one. They pay attention to very small things. I remember I bought a 4K monitor during the pandemic. It was on sale. And my friend told me, like, when he came to visit, he said, looks like you're a gamer. Are you a gamer? I said, I don't game on my work computer because that's not how it is. I game, but a 4K monitor helps me see my clients better. I can like really peer into their souls, so to speak. So I get a really good view of their face. It's like they're really in front of me, and I want to simulate that, table across the table experience. So that's where I'm at. Pay attention to what people are not saying, in addition to what they are
Read
saying.
in between lines.
Absolutely, read between the lines, between the paragraphs, and between even the pages, and you'll find that they open up to you, they trust you, and once that happens, it's a lot easier for them to sort of change themselves, change their attitudes, which is what the work really is about in psychotherapy. Something has to change.
Correct. Absolutely. So, in this world of competition, Aman,
Yeah,
what early signs of burnout should young professionals be aware of? Because
what a
you
lovely
know
question.
this is something which people really want to know.
hmm So, what early signs of burnout? Well, if you don't want to get out of bed, I think that's a good sign, right? I mean, you just want to keep sleeping, and you don't even want to make your way to the living room to fix your morning cup of tea or coffee for yourself. That's actually a very good sign. If you're putting off the work, you're procrastinating the desirables, the deliverables. Um, yeah, then that's a pretty good sign that you're burning out. And if you find yourself having nightmares at night or not getting enough sleep because of how worried you are about how the next day will be, that's a pretty good sign that you're burning out.
Could it be
And most
loss
important,
of appetite?
loss of appetite in some people. For example, my wife, when she's stressed out, will not eat. Now, I am the opposite. If I'm stressed out, I'm ordering biryanis and niharis and fried fish. I mean, food is not a universal indicator. Some people eat more, like me, sometimes I do. Some people will starve themselves.
So
So
when
that's
I
different.
was in depression, I had completely lost my appetite. I
Yeah,
had
it
lost my weight.
happens.
My weight was like 50% of what I am right now.
Acha, acha.
So I
Yeah,
think
it happens,
everybody
yeah.
has a
Happens.
different tendency.
सबका अलग अलग है.
Yeah.
Absolutely. सबका अलग अलग है. Some people will start drinking excessively. Some will stay off alcohol. Suddenly they'll be having Karela juice and go into that sort of extremity. So everyone copes differently. But one thing that is common to all is you'll see radical changes in the routine. So
Correct.
sleeping and waking up is more or less a universal. Either they sleep excessively or they don't sleep at all. I've noticed that when someone's going through burnout, some people will, talk excessively about their problems. Some will just bottle it all up and become very sort of burrowed deep inside their head. Something is happening. So it takes all kinds. There's no universal indicator. Usually, sleep I find to be a more or less universal indicator of how well a person is doing in terms of burnout. Sleep is very basic. Sleep is very, universally observed. So, excessive sleeping or no sleeping at all.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when it comes to people at work,
Yeah.
so how can young professionals set boundaries to prevent work from overwhelming their personal lives?
See, it also depends on the culture of the organization in which you are. For example, in some organizations, if you are single and the management knows it, then it's very common for a senior leader to say, तू घर पे जाके क्या करने वाला है? What are you going to accomplish going home? You don't have a wife in case. Shut up and sit at office and do some extra work and help me finish this report, complete this presentation. So this kind of exploitation, systemic exploitation of single people also is very, very present. It's also difference between genders, right? For example, it's very easy for a woman to say, "Oh, I need to leave early because I have a very seedy commute waiting for me, and I have to reach home by a certain time because my mother otherwise will not eat or sleep." But then she may be given certain privileges on when she can come and when she can leave. So again, what is the organization's policy on your wellness? And what is the organization's policy on letting you either leave at the right time or not leave at all or leave early? It really depends on where you work. So my advice to people is find an organization that closely aligns with your personal values for
Right.
yourself to live a good life. Don't just go to the place that throws the most money at your face, but go to a place of work where you know that it's not just, they don't just care about your output, they also care about how happy you are and what sort of energy you bring into the room.
In fact, now a lot of companies also have a mindset coach, you know,
Yes, indeed.
who do like a mindset coaching for the well-being of their employees, which has become a trend now because a lot of companies know that there is a burnout amongst employees.
That's right.
And that's a good thing that they have started. Not all, but few have started, and I'm sure this trend is going to really grow amongst a lot of companies, and people will start engaging with a lot of mental health professionals for this, and this must become a trend, and this must become, in fact, a policy for all organizations, which definitely will be a very helpful thing for a lot of employees. And I'm sure this
Yeah.
is going to work for the better.
No, absolutely, I agree. I mean, anyone from the world of wellness, if they're coming to your company and they're sort of interacting with your employees at any level, and the employees are positively influenced because of that, I think it's a great idea. It depends on the company's budget, depends on
True.
how clued in they are to the well-being of their people.
There is a
Absolutely, I agree with you.
question for you, Aman. How do you handle clients who are burning out?
So I do three things. First, I study their routine and I see where changes can be made. Step two is I try to figure out who they hang out with and how that is influencing their, you know, state of being, where they are mentally. Third is I try to suggest activities for them that sort of put them in a very different state other than, what we call work mode. So, what are you reading? What are you watching? How much time do you give to just doing, mundane but important things for your well-being, right? So that's how I usually, the routine, the company, and the activities. Usually that's a very good entry point, and of course, beyond that, other advanced techniques slowly make their way. But we usually start very simple.
So, what kind of trend are you seeing in the mental health landscape for young corporate professionals?
Well, the trend is to, I mean, overwork someone so much that they lose all perspective of what they want from their lives, and their entire goal becomes just chasing after one payment after the other. So, they like so many corporate employees I meet. What's your hobby? Huh? I like to scroll Instagram. I like to sleep. I like to text my friends on the phone. I'm like, that's your hobby? That's not really a hobby, man. That's like me saying washing my feet after I take my smelly socks off is my hobby. Like, what the hell is that about? I mean, it's a very basic thing, right? Texting your friends cannot be a hobby. A hobby is something, an activity you engage with that is extremely pleasurable. Perhaps, an activity where you're creating something, building something, right? They may argue, oh no, I'm just like scrolling Instagram and watching reels and watching YouTube shorts, which is okay. I do that too. We all do. But this, it's so sad that people don't have hobbies these days. I mean, they don't have the time here. Either they are spending so long commuting and they have no time for anything else, or they're so completely spent at the end of their work day. And also this trend of WhatsApp groups that are workplace WhatsApp groups, which wasn't there when
Mm.
I was in the workforce. Are you understanding, Suman? So there'll be different WhatsApp groups for different projects, different teams, different tasks. So sort of this invasion of your phone, that is one of the trends I'm seeing. And then because of that, you have very little time left for personal reflection, you know. Like what the hell do I stand for? What is important to me? Like if you ask someone a very basic question, like what are the three most cherished values in your life? What are the values you really stand by in your life? You'd be surprised at how tricky this question appears to so many people. Value क्या value? अच्छा भाव तो चल रहा है प्याज का. It's not that value. You know, what is the most like for me it's so simple. I'll say yeah, for me it's fun, freedom, and creativity. These are three very important values. So every day I live, I want to have some fun, have some freedom, and do whatever I am doing that day with a little creativity. It's so important to me. So a lot of people will say, हाँ, ये क्या होता है? नहीं ऐसा कुछ नहीं है हमारे घर में कुछ वैल्यू शैल्यू नहीं होता खाओ पियो काम पे जाओ
But
you know
most of
that
the
kind of
people would not even understand the question, to be very
है
honest.
ना तो
Ah.
because you can't blame them also they are not allowed enough time to really figure out who they are you know they get married to the first person their parents may want to get them married to and you'll be surprised that I mean I have nothing against arranged marriages but I do wonder that how do you meet a person just three times and then decide to spend 50 years of your life with them I mean I wouldn't do that for a refrigerator you know I'd at least want to check out four or five refrigerators if I was looking for one you know even for a couch or a pillow, I'll want to first try it on. Ye hai, wo hai. So, wouldn't you want to meet someone you're going to give 50 years of your life with at least more than three, four times? And that too in a variety of settings so that you can really see how they
I,
are
is your
interacting with
wife
you.
there listening to you?
My wife currently has gone to her
Ah.
parents' home, but I think she's watching. She's,
Okay.
yeah, she was very excited. She said, "Oh, this is because I think she knows who you are also." She said, "Oh, yeah, I
She's
want to see."
already met me, hugged me, and we had a
Ah,
great
she
time
said, yeah,
together.
yeah. She said, like, I know someone. I want to watch what you. Now we are having the traffic signal Insta live. No, you in green, me in red. This is so
Yeah,
fun. All we need is one yellow.
yellow. Okay, now tell me, how can therapy or counseling be beneficial for someone dealing with corporate stress or anxiety?
Well, they can learn to communicate differently with management. So really, one of the most important things is how do you communicate with your superior without making your superior feel like either you don't respect them or without making your superior feel like you're just trying to avoid doing important work. So that is the trick, right? You got to teach them, sort of, got to reteach them how to negotiate on their behalves. And of course, the results of something like that will have mixed results. Again, it depends on what the organization has allowed and what kind of leadership is present, you know, on the ground at that company. So a lot of it involves, I think, teaching them how to communicate, how to negotiate, you know, how to sort of power talk their way into an important discussion, and also how to find and identify the right allies within your organization with whom, you know, you can sort of have a good relationship and you all can sort of help each other grow as professionals, if not grow within the organization, but at least grow as people who care for each other.
Mm.
I see my friend Kshitish Jain has joined, and he's one of the people who's helped support my growth at a time where you know I wasn't understanding what was happening with me. So it's very important to have friends within the organization you work in, not just because you meet at the end and have a few drinks and you know have a good evening. It's also because their perspective will also help you manage your expectations. And then in therapy, of course, as I said earlier, you learn to communicate differently. You learn to be clear without being, you know, too incisive. You learn to be honest without being too brash. You learn to be empathetic without, you know, sort of begging for your recognition to be due to you. These are some small things you have to work on with clients, you know, how to speak, without, coming across as pathetic or pissed off.
Absolutely. And any advice that you have for younger generation who are hesitant to seek counseling? Because a lot of people think even today in our country that counseling means that ये तो पागल है, इसलिए counseling करानी पड़ती
You know,
है.
I always joke about this. This is so common for me to hear. I say, या तो कोई पागल नहीं है, या तो हम सब पागल हैं. So how do you define पागल?
I was
Either we're
talking the
all
other day with Dr. Anjali Chhabadia, and I said the same
okay,
thing, and she
okay.
said that yes, even today people have this mindset, and I said we
अच्छा,
have to get rid of this mindset because in US, UK, everybody goes to a counselor because if they don't have anyone to speak to, they go to a counselor to just speak out because you
that's
need
right.
someone to listen to patiently and
Completely true.
just be there to listen as a sounding board.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. See, the way we go to a gym or some kind of sports facility to work out our leg muscles or our, shoulders or biceps or our core. Similarly, when you come to a psychotherapist, you're coming to like a mental gym, who's going to help you work out your attitudes, your expectations,
True.
your core beliefs, figure out what your values are, learn to communicate better. So, Dimag ka gym is a good way of sort of pitching it to the youth. It's not about being crazy. As I said, या तो हम सब पागल हैं या तो कोई भी पागल नहीं है. Because all of us are quirky, all of us have really bad habits, all of us communicate and, sort of live out certain fantasies in very predictable ways. It's important to sometimes mix things up. It's important to have someone who's not connected to your social life or your family life, sort of stir the pot a little bit and give you a reason to sort of investigate and sort of launch a investigation on yourself. So, police bhi aap or aparadhi bhi aap. you know so it's important to sort of just sometimes scrape around a little bit in your head, and who better to do that than someone who has no vested interest in being popular with you or liked by you. So I remember one of my teachers used to say this to me. He says, if you don't like what I have to say, that's probably me doing a very good job, because that's really what it's about. This is psychotherapy, not massage therapy, where you just feel good. We don't want you to just feel good. We want you to actually get good and walk away with the insights. So that's
Absolutely.
that's where it's at.
Absolutely. I
Sometimes you have to
completely
prick
second that.
someone with an injection, but अरे यार वो वैक्सीन का डोज है, वो आईवी है, वो आपकी जान बचा रहा है. So psychotherapy, while uncomfortable, is also a safe place to sort of, you know, toss the ball around a little bit with someone who actually cares for your well-being, because that is the role that they have been assigned. As a therapist, my role is to care for your well-being and, sort of investigate with you, with your consent and participation, where there are gaps in your life and in the way you think and talk and relate with other human beings.
Very true. Very true. So, can you share one of your success stories or highlight the impact of your work? Because I am sure all these people who are listening to you also want to understand that what really happened or उसमें से क्या निकला as an outcome.
I remember, so I'll tell you, there was a guy who came to me in the year 2018. So that's a whole 2 years before, the coronavirus sort of episode in our lives, which consumed so many years of our lives. This was a guy with very intense social anxiety. So he was just scared of people. What will they think? What will they say? They don't like me. Because of his intense fear, he was not getting promoted within his organization because he was being perceived as someone who doesn't have a spine, doesn't have anything interesting to offer the room or the conversation. So that was where he was at. He was kind of stuck. So he told me, डॉक्टर साहब बहुत डर लगता है, लोगों से डर लगता है, बात करने से डर लगता है, समझ में नहीं आता, समझ में नहीं आता. So, in CBT, we have something known as a shame attack. So I kind of modified that technique for him, and I told him, I gave him a very simple a sort of behavioral experiment, perfectly safe. So he used to take the trains, the trains, the Mumbai local trains, right? Those of you all from Mumbai watching this, we have our local trains, Western, Harbour, Central, whatever. So I told him, you take the train, do you not? He said, yeah, I do. I said, now I want you to just do an experiment. Just take a train to a station you usually don't get off at. Identify any person of your gender, since you're a man, identify a man who based on his physical appearance, looks like he's above the age of 65. Walk up to them and offer to buy them a cup of tea and just ask them about their day. कि भाई कैसा रहा आपका दिन? क्या किया? कौन में और कौन है? कैसे हैं आप? And I said, the moment you approach them, first ensure you let them know you don't want to sell them anything. मैं आपको कुछ बेचने वाला नहीं हूँ, मुझे आपसे कोई उम्मीद नहीं है. And I said, and he was a Marathi speaker, so say it in Marathi, "Ka apeksha thevat nahi," whatever. That that I just want to buy you tea. I just want to buy you tea. And if they ask you why do you want to buy me tea, he says, "Oh, my Guruji told me." Bring religion, then no one will ask questions. So he actually did that. He bought cup of tea for 5 random people, completely random. I said, random station, get off at a station where you would never get off at. And he had some wonderful conversations, and he developed a sort of innate bravery in talking to strangers over time. And it was really that simple. As you can see, there's no great psychology technique used here, but it's just sort of this understanding that not every person who you talk to really wants to tear you down or strip the skin off your bones or has some kind of vested interest in humiliating you. And very often people are just glad to have a friend, to wait with them at the platform. Sometimes people just like it when you ask them how they're doing. And while this may be common in some Western countries, when in India, if that's why I said approach someone who's senior and who's of your gender. You go and do this with a woman, suddenly you're a sexual predator, and you get beaten up. So gender appropriateness, cultural, settings that you find yourself in will play a role in how you are perceived. So, I mean, that was it. That was a very simple experiment, and he got a lot braver. And of course, I had to reteach him how to speak around seniors, which required a lot of sessions. But I mean, all in all, he changed. I mean, I know you are connected to the world of image consulting, so you guys help a person, figure out how to present themselves physically, the clothes, etc. So I try to help them figure out how to present themselves as personalities, as people as well. So the work is closely connected.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And with that, we've come to the end of these question answer sessions. And now I would like to open this platform for all the people who would like to ask you questions.
That's
So,
right.
guys, if you have any questions for Dr. Aman, you're more than welcome to ask because we don't have much time and the live session gets over automatically in 1 hour's time. So, you have just about 10 minutes more.
That's right.
So, please feel free to ask and we'll wait for 5 more minutes and then after 5 minutes, we will have to close the live. So, let's
Ask
wait.
whatever you guys want to ask, guys. Don't
Yes.
hesitate. Okay. We're
Yes.
here, Suman and I, to just have a chat,
You have a
and let's see
golden
what.
opportunity to ask your questions from Dr. Aman.
Yeah. So what else is happening, Suman? Tell me about the crows that you rescued, man.
Oh God, don't ask me these people at my complex, they were like cutting all the trees because they're expecting rains to come. And then with that, all the crows, the baby crows came down.
Oh God.
And that's a sad story, but I'm glad that they are happy. They're enjoying having some chicken soup at home, some
Crows are having
mangoes.
chicken soup. How interesting is that? They're like cannibals then, right?
So, so I checked with the vet what am I supposed to give
Okay,
them
of
because I
course.
had
Yeah,
no
yeah.
idea.
It is
And
good.
then he said, सिर्फ chicken soup पिलाओ और थोड़ा fruit खिलाओ. I said, okay, ठीक है, done.
Shabash, yeah, shabash.
So
एक
they're having
avocado भी काट
mangoes
के
and chicken
खिलाओ
soup
उनको.
right now.
So sweet, so sweet. That was such a warm and lovely Insta story. It just stayed with me. I had to bring it up. I said, yeah, she's rescuing birds. That's very nice. Nice of you.
So every time some dog, some cat, some birds or the other are in my house, and then this is what happens.
What
So
if
now
your
we
house?
are like taking some training from NGOs to how to like release them after some time.
I'm wondering, what if your house was near Borivali National Park? What kinds of animals would you be
Oh, we
rescuing then? एक
have
शेर
plans,
आया.
huh? By the way, we have plans to have an animal rescue center
How
because
sweet.
my son wants to have that.
How wonderful. How lovely.
This is the plan going forward. How do you tackle nervous clients and build confidence in them?
Okay, we have a question. Nervous clients. Well, you sort of deal with nervous clients just as you deal with any type of client. You just treat them as a person. With nervous clients, usually I find it very helpful to also question what their diet is, you know. So I have observed and, through my own research, not that this is typically my specialty, but anybody eating very late night meals or having very high carb diet or very sugar rich foods, those who drink too much caffeine, I've noticed that very often when I recommend them to see a nutritionist and sort of just clean up their diet, it takes away a good 50% of their problems. So this is, where I'm very happy to collaborate with other people and give them a referral to help them also grow. So nervousness comes from many places, but I do believe nervousness is felt very physically first. And as I shared earlier, nervousness also has a lot to do with what your expectations are. So we have a series of chats and help them manage those expectations. And there's a lot of storytelling that takes place in counseling where you give stories from, uh, you know, other cases you have worked or just stuff you have read or, even through history of humanity or history of, even stories we hear as children sometimes can be revisited to teach us something so wonderful. So that's, I think, a very good initial approach for clients who are dealing with extreme nervousness. So yeah,
Aman, it's time for you to blush because you have a compliment. Aman,
what?
you have a good voice and great sense of humor. So we all know that he has fantastic voice and
Thank you.
he just encashes that completely.
अरे
Thanks,
बाप रे.
Suman ma'am, for amazing session. By the way, Aman, I wanted to check with you. Have you started your podcast or no?
Oh dear. Well, it's been an ongoing project of mine, but consulting work has, consumed 7, 8 hours of my day. Yeah. And, it's also, I've been wanting to do a little more traveling because COVID took away time. So planning travels also requires a lot of time. Plus, I'm kind of newly married. I've just been married 2 years, okay? So we do end up doing a lot of things that don't have anything to do with work. So, between all those activities, I don't find time to sit and, come up with a podcast just yet, but hopefully soon,
If
someday.
you start
I've
a
been told,
podcast, it's
Anji.
going to rock. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and then
It's
Suman
going to
will be
rock.
one of my guests. Suman and her animal rescue efforts someday maybe.
But you have to start. Seriously. I mean, with
I
that
do,
kind of
yeah,
voice,
I
you're
do.
not doing podcast is not fair.
I know I've been told, but yeah, time is also of the essence. I mean, I'm someone who doesn't like to work myself into a blood fever, I kind of like to do just enough work to feel productive, and then I have
Yeah,
many
but then
other
you
things that,
don't need to overdo podcasting. You can just do it the way you would like to just space it out.
no, absolutely. And this is, I think, all the encouragement I need because my mom's also been telling me, she's like, you should do it. I said, yeah, time kahan hai? But time banana padta hai, to be fair,
Yeah,
to be
so
fair. But I really feel so happy hearing this. Thank you, Shireen, Times of Priya. Thank you,
clients are not
Personalite.
ready to share the actual problem most of the time, and some don't even know they have a problem. Of course,
I'll,
I always say that people don't, I mean, that's the biggest problem.
so, I mean, I have a very simple answer to this. See, the fact that they don't know they have a problem. That's why they've come to you, right? I mean, I may not know I have a cavity. That's why I go to the dentist, right? Just saying, yahan pe dukh raha hai. So, I mean, that's kind of the point of having a psychotherapist to sort of talk to, right? And if they don't want to share the actual problem, it's probably because they are ashamed of having to, put themselves in that position. So, the actual problem itself may either be unknown to them or it may be embarrassing to them, or maybe every time they have tried to share the actual problem, they've been punished or they've been, given, hell by someone for having the problem in the first place. So, we don't exactly live in a society that supports honesty and candidness. We live in a society that has a penchant for drama, that fails to learn from its mistakes, and where there is an illogical respect of people just because they're much older, and allegedly more wiser. So there's a lot of dysfunction and some pretty weird stuff happening around us at any time. So for them to feel safe requires you create that vibe, you create that sort of warmth so that they may consider opening their hearts up to you. You can't put a gun to someone's head and say, बोलो अभी problem क्या है, बोलो solution है मेरे
Nice,
पास,
right?
जल्दी बोलो, दूसरा
Seriously.
client रुक रहा है. ऐसा थोड़ी होता है यार. It's not how psychotherapy
That
works.
is why it is said, no, and I've read it several times that people don't fake depression, they fake being normal.
Very true, very true, very well said. Also, the way I see it, personalite in style is a very good question. I really like it. See, they're paying you money to sort of consult with you. Why would you pay someone money and then not tell them what the problem is? I mean, unless you have a lot of money lying around, and then I would say don't pay a professional money, pay charity,
Actually,
like if you want to
the
really
problem
just
is,
throw
Aman,
money
that
away.
they feel that they will be judged. That's the
That's what
problem.
I said. Anji,
Mm.
वही तो ना, they feel, so that's where your soft skills as a psychotherapist or life coach or image consultant, as the case may be, comes in. How good are you at making the other person feel, अरे यार ये तो मेरा बंदा है यार, ये तो
Mm.
मेरी friend है. Even though, as I say, a therapist has to be friendly, not a friend.
Correct.
The friend will be scared of offending you.
Right.
Therapist doesn't care if you get offended because sometimes you may get offended if the truth is spoken about you, you know,
True. देखो एक
right?
और petition आ गया of having a podcast guru, Dr. Aman.
अरे
See, Aman,
बाप रे,
now
someday,
you have to. Now you can't escape.
सुमन आपके मुंह में घी शक्कर यार. दही.
Seriously, I'll keep
Whatever you
sending
like
you
to eat.
messages about your podcast series.
You
And
must यार. So
everybody,
sweet
I'm
of you.
reminding all of you, if you have somebody who's young, who's a youth, and if they have anything to do with mental health, Dr. Aman Bhonsle is the go-to person.
Absolutely. Not just the youth. I mean, yeah, I also have cases closer to my age. I'm 38 years old. So I do have a lot of couples coming to me as well nowadays. Not that they
Aman, for
didn't
me,
come
that is
before.
youth, my dear.
अरे नहीं, आप नहीं लगते यार, ऐसा मत बोलिए. 38. And when I got married, my beard was a lot blacker. अभी ऐसे सफेद हो रही है. I told my wife, यार दाढ़ी रंगानी पड़ेगी. She said, no, no. Salt, pepper looks sexy on you. I'm okay. I'm fine
Yes.
then. I told my wife, I don't feel like youth here. When your beard turns white, you're not youth. Then I
That
should grow it and start a cult.
salt and pepper is the new youthful look. So don't forget that.
Sure. Salt, pepper, and chaat masala, as the case may be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the new chaat masala look.
That's right. That's right.
Fantastic. I mean, this was the most awesome session that I've had till now. So
अच्छा ऐसे
thank you so much
my
for
pleasure.
agreeing and
Pleasure.
accepting this invite. And I'm sure you can see the compliments. You can see that everybody is praising this session. And we're looking forward to many more. And they are all requesting for a podcast to start. And now you have to consider this.
I will. I will. And bring me back again, man. Suman, I had so much fun chatting
Yes.
with you. I see
Yes. Yes.
some of my friends
Absolutely.
are here. My friend, the Mad Onion Slicer, has just joined, but a bit late. We're almost ending. It's a very, very dear friend of mine. So yeah, it's good to have such a
Lovely.
lovely audience, so many questions, and of course, Suman is a fantastic host and always so lovely.
Thank you. And your coming over to my place is due, so we'll talk about
Yeah,
that next time
yeah,
and
yeah.
on
Why
my
not?
WhatsApp. So
I,
I'll personally invite you for
I
that.
would love
Thank
it.
you
I'd
so
love to see
much,
your
Aman.
clothes,
Thank you,
your birds.
everybody. Yes. And this was a wonderful session. Thank you once again for joining in. Everybody, once again, this was Dr. Aman Bhonsle and Suman Agarwal signing off for today. Thank you.
Bye.